a $300 million radar system, one of the most advanced pieces of missile defense technology the United States military owns, reduced to rubble in a single strike. Not by a superpower, not by a nation with a sprawling space program or decades of precision warfare experience, by Iran. And the question that immediately followed wasn't how, it was who helped them. Because what happened in Jordan in the opening days of March 2026 wasn't luck. It wasn't a random missile finding its mark. That ANTPY-2 radar, the very eyes of America's THAAD missile defense network, was hit with a level of surgical precision that left U.S. defense analysts genuinely unsettled. Iran's strikes across the region, Jordan, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, weren't scattered. They were coordinated, targeted, and devastatingly accurate. Someone was feeding Tehran a map, and the trail leads straight to Moscow. Before the rockets flew, before the radar stations went dark, there was a handshake in Moscow. On January 17, 2025, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian sat across from each other and signed what they called a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty, a sweeping 20-year agreement designed to lock the two nations together across military, political, and economic lines. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. This was the first major bilateral treaty between Russia and Iran since 2001, and it was built on years of quiet cooperation that had been accelerating since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. By May 2025, Iran's parliament had fully ratified the deal. Russia's parliament had done the same in April. The pact was live, binding, and, as the world would soon see, already being put to use. What made this agreement different from standard diplomatic photo ops was what sat underneath the formal language. Military and security collaboration was explicitly included, trade designed to blunt the impact of Western sanctions, energy cooperation, intelligence frameworks. On paper, it read like two countries protecting each other's backs. In practice, it was a war-fighting alliance without the name. Here's something most people don't realize about Iran's military situation. Tehran doesn't have a real satellite constellation. It has a handful of military-grade satellites and no continuous coverage network that can track moving targets in real time. For a country trying to strike U.S. warships and aircraft spread across an enormous region, that's a critical weakness. Russia doesn't have that problem. The Russian aerospace forces operate an extensive network of intelligence-gathering satellites and have spent years refining their ability to use that data after years of targeting practice in Ukraine. When Russia needed to track Ukrainian air defenses, supply routes, and command nodes, it learned to do it fast and precisely. That same capability, retargeted toward the Arabian Peninsula, is worth its weight in gold to Tehran. The space relationship between the two countries didn't start in 2025. It goes back to August 2022, when Russia launched Iran's Kayam satellite from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan aboard a Soyuz rocket. Kayam is a high-resolution Earth observation satellite, the kind that can image military installations in detail. U.S. officials flagged it immediately, warning that the launch would give Iran surveillance capabilities it had never had before, and potentially give Russia eyes over Ukraine in return. A December 2022 follow-up agreement deepened the space cooperation further, joint satellite development, training programs, laboratory infrastructure, and plans for a shared launch facility. By the time missiles started flying in 2026, the foundation had been laid for years. Let's get specific, because this isn't vague intelligence sharing, the kind of thing governments do routinely. What Russia is reportedly giving Iran is operational targeting data, real-time, actionable, the kind that tells you not just where an enemy was yesterday, but where they are right now. According to sources cited by NBC News, The Washington Post, and CNN, all independently, Russia has been providing Iran with the locations of American warships, aircraft, and troop positions across the Middle East. That means Iranian strike planners aren't guessing. They're working from a live picture of the battlefield, updated continuously by Russian satellites passing overhead. After each Iranian strike, Russia also reportedly provides battle damage assessments, essentially grading the hit, identifying what was destroyed, and helping Iran calculate what needs to hit next. But the cooperation goes even deeper than intelligence. A senior European intelligence officer told the Wall Street Journal that Russia has been advising Iran on the tactical mechanics of drone warfare, how many drones to launch in a single wave, at what altitude, with what spacing, drawing directly from Russia's own playbook developed over years of drone warfare against Ukraine. This isn't a country offering moral support. This is a country providing a full-service war consultation. Iran's Shahed drones were already a threat before Russia got involved. Cheap, mass-producible, and capable of overwhelming expensive missile defense systems through sheer numbers, the Shahed became Iran's signature weapon. But cheap doesn't automatically mean precise, and that's where the Russian technical assistance changed the equation dramatically. Sources told the Wall Street Journal that Russia has been supplying Iran with physical components specifically designed to upgrade the Shahed's capabilities. We're talking improved communication systems, enhanced GPS navigation, and more accurate targeting modules. The drone that was already dangerous just got a hardware refresh. Russia also supplied its domestically produced versions of the Shahed for comparison, giving Iranian engineers a template for what a more refined version looks like in practice, and the tactical advice runs parallel to the hardware. Russian military advisors have reportedly been coaching Iranian commanders on how to structure multi-drone attacks for maximum effectiveness, the same techniques that have given Ukrainian air defense crews fits for years: flood the radar, exhaust the interceptors, then send the precision strike through the gap. It's a doctrine Russia tested and proved in Eastern Europe, now licensed out to a new theater of war. When the war in the Middle East escalated in early March 2026, something immediately stood out to U.S. defense analysts. Iran's strikes were far more accurate than anything Tehran had demonstrated before. During the 12-day Iran-Israel conflict in June 2025, Iranian attacks had been notable but imprecise. What happened in March 2026 was categorically different. Iran didn't just hit U.S. bases. It went after specific infrastructure within those bases: the radar systems, the communication arrays, the command and control nodes. Satellite imagery confirmed damage at U.S. military sites in Jordan, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Kuwait. The $300 million ANTPY-2 THAAD radar at Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan confirmed destroyed. Communication systems across multiple Gulf installations knocked out, not collateral damage, deliberate sequenced targeting. Nicole Grajewski, a Russia-Iran relations expert who spoke to the Washington Post, described the attacks as displaying a sophisticated level of target selection and an unusual ability to penetrate defenses. Dara Massicot at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace was even more blunt. They're going after command and control. They're doing this in a very targeted way. That language, command and control, is the language of someone who knows what they're looking at. And what they're looking at is a country that was handed a map. On the diplomatic front, Vladimir Putin looked Donald Trump in the eye, or at least over a phone line, and denied it. Russia was not providing intelligence to Iran. Moscow was not helping Tehran target American forces. Putin said so directly. Then the Wall Street Journal published its report on March 17, 2026. Then the Washington Post followed, then NBC News, then CNN. 4 major independent outlets, citing multiple government officials including a senior European intelligence officer, all describing the same thing. Russia has been providing Iran with satellite imagery and targeting data, and that cooperation has been expanding, not shrinking, as the conflict intensifies. The intelligence is sourced from satellites operated by the Russian aerospace forces. It includes location data on American warships and aircraft, and it is believed to have directly enabled Iran's strikes on U.S. radar systems. Zelensky, watching this from Kiev with a perspective most NATO leaders don't have, put it plainly in late March 2026. Russia is providing intelligence to Iran specifically to prolong the Middle East conflict. He's seen this script before: Moscow keeping a conflict alive, bleeding an adversary, waiting for exhaustion to do what armies can't. The name analysts have started giving this arrangement, Operation Hidden Hand, captures it perfectly. A war fought with someone else's hands, guided by Moscow's eyes in the sky. Here's the part that doesn't get enough attention. Russia doesn't actually care that much about Iran winning this war. What Russia cares about is the war continuing. Because every day the Middle East burns, Moscow collects dividends. The moment the Strait of Hormuz came under threat, global oil prices spiked. Russia's economy runs on oil exports. Higher oil prices mean more revenue flowing into Moscow's war chest at precisely the moment when Western sanctions were designed to dry it up. It's not a coincidence. It's a strategic calculation. Support Iran just enough to keep the conflict going. Profit from the disruption to global energy markets. Watch the United States stretch its military and diplomatic resources across 2 theaters simultaneously. And that's the second dividend. Every U.S. carrier strike group repositioned to the Gulf is a carrier strike group not focused on Europe. Every Patriot battery defending a Gulf ally is a Patriot battery not heading to Ukraine. Every American strategic conversation about Iran is a conversation not happening about Russia. Moscow is, in effect, using Tehran to purchase breathing room, and based on the market, the price is a good deal. The economic advantages of the Middle East conflict are so clear that analysts at Carnegie have described the entire arrangement as economically advantageous for Russia. Step back from the daily strike reports and the radar damage assessments and the diplomatic denials for a moment and look at what's actually taking shape. The conflict in the Middle East is no longer a bilateral standoff between Iran and the United States. It never really was, but now the architecture of outside involvement is becoming impossible to ignore. On one side, the United States, Israel, and their Gulf partners defending a network of bases and naval assets with expensive interceptor missiles that are being steadily depleted by cheap drone swarms. On the other side, Iran, armed with Russian satellite intelligence, Russian upgraded drones, Russian tactical doctrine, and a 20-year treaty that formalizes the whole arrangement. The Iran-Russia partnership, formally approved in January 2025 and ratified by both parliaments, was not a piece of paper. It was an operating framework, and it is operating. What comes next depends on one question the U.S. hasn't publicly answered. How do you deter a country from sharing intelligence that it officially denies sharing? Russia faces no formal consequences for cooperation it refuses to acknowledge. Iran benefits from precision it officially claims is its own. And the gap between what everyone in the intelligence community knows and what can be acted upon diplomatically gets wider every time another radar station goes dark.